No.
All right. Books are going for ridiculous prices. Warning, protect your wallet and everything else, okay? Welcome to Go Over, guys.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend.
Welcome to Golden Guys, everybody. Just like the Golden Girls with the sex appeal this week because we don't have nights. But how's everybody doing tonight? We've got some stuff to go over tonight. There's a Comic Link auction going on at the same time, so a couple of us have our heads down over here. Some books are going for some crazy prices. Hope you guys enjoyed the opening. We'll be playing that again later on, and I'll have a special announcement halfway through. But how are we doing? Let me start this week with let's start with DS. Over this way.
I'm good. Good to see you guys. Yeah, I've just been just working on some stuff here. I haven't made any major pickups since the last week in Connect, but yeah, just watching these auction prices is insane. I mean, I know supposedly the market was down for a while, maybe it's rebounded, but when you look at some of this Golden Age stuff, some of the rarer stuff, some of the big ticket items, man, some of these prices I just are through the roof, and it's been staggering to watch some of these in Comic Connect and Comic Link going on tonight. So yeah, exciting times we live in.
All right, below me right now, Jeff, how we doing over there?
Good, man. I am trying to get on this Comic Link auction here, but like no search engine is letting me. So I'm going to do this through my phone. So I'm excited to see all these numbers you guys are talking about. But otherwise, oh man, it's been a busy week, dude. Busy week. Get into it more through the show, man. But happy to be here.
Great having you here. Paulie, what is going on?
Oh, I am able to get into the Comic Link auction, so I'm looking at everything.
Yeah, I'm in there too, Jeff.
Maybe
out of luck.
Maybe it's a sign. Don't go in there and bid on anything stupid.
Now, Knights is in the chat right now. We'll get to the chat in a little bit right now, but first we're going to start off with a little show and tell. And let me start out with what'd you get, DS? Let's see what you got. I'm going to put you on the big screen. So,
all right,
Trinitron.
All right, so nothing crazy. I posted this on my Instagram. I don't know. Sometimes you make an impulse buy on a Golden Age book that you never saw, and it's just like, that's cool and that's cheap. So why not? Frisky Fables. You know, I researched this to see if it was faded colors, but it's not. Actually, these are the colors that they used for the rainbow and the sky and all that. So just a funky Alfago Frisky Fables book, and it's in pretty nice shape. It's got a subscription crease that doesn't break color. And, you know, pretty nice shape for like 1946 or something. So, yeah, why not? I mean, I've had some luck getting some of these smaller, cool books. Some people like them. It's a niche sort of book. So, yeah, why not? I got it for like $20, I think. 15 bucks.
Nice.
And then I picked up, this was another impulse buy. But, man, this is a book I've wanted for years. So I was just like, what the hell? Let me get this one. Old school label on it, too. A little outside of what I normally collect, you guys will notice, but Crossfire 12, just a classic Dave Stevens, 9.8, old style holder. Yeah, I just think the old holder goes with the style of the book. It's an 80s book. My favorite Dave Stevens cover, so why not? Just sometimes you buy something off the cuff, and this was it. So, but yeah, really cool.
Dave Stevens Maryland cover.
Yeah, that's my favorite Dave Stevens right here. So,
excellent, good book.
That's it.
Good. Anybody else pick up anything?
I didn't pick up anything, but I went to my safety deposit box today because I'm going to do a sale on Instagram this Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I forgot, like, I had this book, and I just had to pull it out because it's been a while, but it was Mystery Men Comics. Just good to see it again. It's Lou Fine.
Lou Fine in the book.
I love it.
This came from an original owner collection of like 8 to 10 Mystery Men books. And this is the only one I kept at this point, but
great.
It's a cool book, man.
Very
Anyways,
good.
Lufine, yeah, it's just good to see it again. It's been a while. It's so hard to get to a bank these days.
Yeah. I didn't pick up anything. I just got some stuff back from CGC. Nothing really, no Golden Age this time. Just got screwed on a lot of good grades. That's all.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's all right. Actually, it doesn't really. Yeah, at least for my PC, which is a topic we're going to talk about later on. How our PC or our private collections have changed and evolved over the years. Paul, did you get anything new?
No, I just got a bunch of books back from CGC.
You get the moderns.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
I'm gonna start flipping a bunch of my moderns to save up for a couple big books this year.
Yeah, which is what we're going to talk about in a little bit here. So let me get into the chat, which requires me to see.
I don't know if I should really call it flipping, though. I've held on to some of them for 20, 30 years, so it's a long-term flip.
Nice. Richard R., great having you here. He says here, one of the few comic book. Oh, what a nice little thing here. I think I appreciate that. Thank you, Richard. Mr. Gretzky, always good to have you here. Loves his Archie, everything here. We can go on with the Cosmic King is here. Chris Barrett himself. Speaking of Cosmic, good stuff right here. Chris Barrett, I went the full 60 with Thanos. Nice. Very cool. StreamYard Elements, thanks for having our back. Knights. Oh, look at our little Rue McClanahan over there, not showing up. That's okay.
He's ashamed
good
to
evening,
show his
everyone.
mop
That's
head,
your
that's
first
why
time
he's
here,
not here.
new and still learning my code. Well, Flash Red videos. We're about the Golden Age, books from 1938 to 1955. We hope you enjoy it. We cover various different aspects here. Here's our buddy, Just Rican, and his comics, Rod the Rican, doing a great job. Wonder what hat he's wearing today. What color is that hat? Bonafide. Good having you here. Can't have a show without being Bonafide himself. Man Cave. Hey, boys. How we doing there? Look at that faucet right there. Got that nice little Mark Raboy cover right there. So, what's up? And there we go. And Paul with the long-term spec. I love that stuff. Well, good having you here. Now, our topic we were going to talk about was specifically how we've changed and from our collecting habits to our personal collection that we're doing. Not the books that I wouldn't say flip. Like we do flip them, but we really take care of them first, clean them, service them, and then if we choose to sell them, we choose to sell them to buy something else. I think a great way to start this would be start with DS because, in my opinion, DS is evolving is the biggest one I've ever seen. So, go ahead, tell us, like what are some of the things that have changed over, let's say, the last 5 years of your collecting habits, the big ones?
Yeah, I've been collecting Golden Age. I mean, I got back into collecting 5 years ago, and I very quickly got into Golden Age. I think about this a lot, and I've noticed that there are sort of like three categories. You can break up types of collectors into any number of different categories, and there's actually a lot of good content out there on YouTube about it. People have their own categories, but for me, there's three categories, and I find myself gravitating towards them or moving around in those differently. There's low-grade collecting, there's high-grade collecting, and then there's what I call condition collecting. When I first got into Golden Age, I was a low-grade collector. I just wanted the book. I saw it. None of these Golden Age books come up a ton. I would just grab what I saw. Just wanted a low grade. I still want a presentable, but low grade, something I could afford, get it quick. I was happy. I've sort of transitioned more to being a condition collector, where I'm viewing my books more as investments, and I want something. I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to pay a little more. That means I get fewer of these books. But I really want something. It doesn't need to be a spectacular copy, but I want something solid for whatever it is. Usually it's a mid-grade, a really good-looking book. And then there's stuff I ignored when I first got into Golden Age. And it's issues that you don't necessarily encounter in moderns and bronze. Silver starts to have some of the issues. Rusty staples. I'm very keen on that now. I like nice staples on my Golden Age. There was a Human Torch 23, classic Schomburg robot. It's probably still on eBay. I forget who has it, who's the consigner or seller, but it's like an 8.0. It's like the Aurora copy, 8.0 white pages. But it's got rusty staples with rust bleed. And so it's out for me, even though it's an 8.0 white page pedigree copy. So, I don't like chunks off the cover. I like decent page quality for Golden Age, at least off-white. Creamed off-white is okay, depending on the book. So yeah, as I move forward in my collecting, I tend to go for fewer. I've also pared down my collection. I have fewer books, but for me, they're bigger books and they're quality. For me, how the way I judge them. And what I've done is I've become less emotionally attached, because in order to move forward and progress in this hobby, it generally takes money, and you got to take some risks. So, I'll sell books that I've got last year or so if I can make a big profit on them. And even though they're books I love, I'm not attached to anymore. So I'll move them, and then I can increase my funds overall, the value of my collection, and pick up bigger quality pieces of art as I move forward. And I've been fairly successful. I don't have anything massive, but I've got a lot of solid books for me. I'm way ahead of where I thought I would be when I first got into Golden Age. I don't have any 10 or 15, 20 grand books. I don't have anything like that. But the stuff I have, I feel like it's quality. And when I go to sell it, it's very easy to sell relative to books because they are quality. And, I move things as I go on and pick up better things. And I just try to increase sort of like my art portfolio in value and quality as I move along. And that's the, general progression, I think, of a lot of collectors.
Very good. My personal, about my involvement was I was collecting many years, and the last couple of years I've kind of planned the year in advance based on the calendar year, and then I just said, well, let's not do it like that. Let's just see if I complete what I wanted to get, where do I go from there? And the natural progression was to upgrade. I'm in that stage right now where I'm reducing I'm already down to about, I think, 6,000 books left, down from probably 15 over the years. A lot of them were donations and stuff like that, direct books, which probably now they're probably worth something because I've seen books go for these crazy moderns. But a lot of it is I've slabbed more than I ever have in the last couple of years. I got into it. I used to only slab sketch covers. That's 2009, 2000. The only thing I did was to preserve the sketch cover with its authenticity. And then I said, well, let me just start slabbing all these other books. And I've enjoyed it and hated it. But at the same point in time, I'm subscribing to DS's newsletter in a way that I do want to reduce the number of books I have in my quote unquote comic book footprint in my house. And I've expanded to art to a whole nother level. It's been a rabbit hole I've gone down several times in my collecting career. And now I'm about that point where that's hit its peak right now. And I don't really sell the art as much, maybe the one piece of art per year, to upgrade, to do something I was less emotionally attached with. But that's been part of it. And we're going to talk about standards in our collection a little bit here and talk about somebody with no standards. Paul, what about your collecting habits?
5 years ago, 5 years ago, I wasn't even collecting. I had gotten out of it for a while. And probably about 4 years ago is when I got back into it. And it took me a while to... First, I started out just buying everything new and then realized I don't like new comics. I was like, this is not what I remember. And I went back to, I always loved Golden Age stuff in the back, so I started looking more and more at that. But it was still very unfocused. I didn't, it was just like, oh, there's a Golden Age book. I'll pick that up. That looks cool. Now it's like I'm trying to get into certain specific things, like you with your elephants. I've got my mummies. I've got my frogmen. Not to say I won't pick up something great that doesn't fit that, but you kind of have to focus with Golden Age because
you do.
It's just, and it's all about the hunt.
It is, and that's exactly right. I mean, I do have a large crime collection of Atlas crime. I have about 48. Just literally half of a short box filled with nothing but crime Atlas books and doubles of a few, and some Orbits, some Wanteds, a lot of Wanteds from 38 on. I'm missing like I think 3 of a whole run of from the 30s on, from number 30s on. But a collection involvement. I think I want Golden Age guru Jeff himself. How about your involvement in your collecting? Because we've watched your collection through Instagram and through social media expand and grow. So
I don't. Okay, so collecting, it's a very personal thing, So I don't really think there's a wrong way for anyone to collect or how they collect or what they like, no matter what time frame or era. Currently, I'm into like Golden Age and Bronze Age, so they're two very different, obviously. So the standards I have for each one is a little different. Just like sometimes with Gold, you're just happy to get the book. Bronze Age, you see the book enough, you actually almost set a level or standard for it, whatever you're comfortable with. So for me, like I'm just going to speak specifically on Golden Age. Yeah, it's transitioned some. I think I've actually opened up my eyes more to other genres like the romance recently, more so in the last 3-4 years, just really paying more attention to that, specifically because of how much draw and exposure I've had to Baker of lately. That's the whole market's had, and they've got to see that. And then really seeing what books are actually special, not just another Baker cover, and trying to find those in almost any grade. And I'm seeing myself go into romance. War I've always kind of been interested in to some extent, just trying to figure out which kind of war. It seems like Atlas and DC has been mostly for me. Some of the other stuff, not so much. Golden Age, I am specific on like certain heroes and the cover, and I find myself liking certain books more in person than I do seeing them online. So sometimes I'll come across a book and I might see it in person and realize that I like it more in hand than I've always seen it either digitally or I've seen it in a book. And then it becomes appealing and something that I'd want to buy. I don't really have, for me, I like classic covers, and I like scarcity of books, like a lot of people. And horror is kind of taking a seat back for me. I am not into horror like I thought I used to be. And that's probably after superhero, after crime, after romance, horror is maybe somewhere like 4th or 5th for some reason. I used to be really excited about it, and so that's kind of taken a seat back for me as well. So my collecting has definitely evolved. I've always kept pieces just here and there because I always wanted to get something out of a collection, not just sell it. And my collection is maybe personal, 600 books, 500 maybe. And don't think it's going to grow much more than that. And like for me, my standards are certain ones should be high grade because there's more of them out there. When I say high grade, like 6.0, I'm not talking crazy 9.2s, mile highs. I'm not a big pedigree collector. That's another thing. If a pedigree just happens to come along the same price line of a regular book and grade, then fine. But I'm not playing multiples for a 9.2 church. If I can buy a 9.2 non-church for the same freaking price, just doesn't matter for me.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
There's only one pedigree that I want to get a book from, and that's probably the Larson books, just because I like the story behind it.
Okay, that was good. I know a lot of. I always wanted Okajima.
Yeah, Okajima would be cool too.
Sure.
A lot of people want a Mile High copy of Mile High book too because of the historical value of it. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like condition collecting, I feel like you don't go after massive grades. You don't want to pay premiums for high grades. You don't want to pay premiums for being top of the census or having pedigrees. But you get to a point where you want something better than low grade, and then it's just a matter of how do you find it, how do you afford it, where is it, which ones do you get? And then, yeah, like Jeff was saying, 6.0, 5.0 of certain books is good. Yeah, I mean, look, for me, I hear a lot of people saying all the time, collect what you like, collect what you like. That's fine until what you like starts being expensive. When what you like is beyond what you make at your day job, you can't collect what you like anymore as easily. And it's not just collecting what you like at that point. When you're putting out serious money, I'm not going to buy something I like over something I like that's a better investment, because we're putting a lot of money out into these books. You want to be able to get that money back out. You want it to hold value. We're not buying a $5 bronze book out of a box because we like it. or buying $5,000 Golden Age book, not just because I like it, because a lot of people like it and it's got staying power and it's a good investment. So when you start putting more money into things, it's more for me than just collect what you like. If collect what you like, that's also going to be a good investment and that you can get at a good price. And that means losing way more auctions, passing on books way more these days, buying fewer books, but when you buy a book, it's a bigger book. And Jeff has, I've pared my collection down. I have probably under 100 books, not counting the flip stuff that's all over this table you guys can't see. But just for GA books, I have 2 boxes that are almost full, and I got 1 box of bronze. And they're all slabs. So yeah, I like a smaller, denser collection, and I'm pickier, but I'm not snobby about it. I don't need a super high grade, but I want a solid copy because these price points, man, these are investments, and I don't want to waste money. I want to be very, very wise with each penny I spend on these books because there's nothing worse than buying a $4,000 book that you can't sell for $2,500 in a couple of years. That's no good.
And that's one of the things I was going to mention about the Golden Age is that for luck would have it, being a jungle collector for 4.5, 5 years, however old, 5 years or so. Baker wasn't really popular a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. So I was buying the books at $25, $30, $40. And for those who were mid-grade, early jungle, and they weren't expensive. Now they're slabbed in 8.0s and 7.5s, and people have asked me about them. And well, I'm not interested in selling them, but you brought up Matt Baker. The Golden Age has expanded to not just the pre-code horror world, but depending on who the artist was. And that was always the case with, let's say, an Eisner or a Schoenberg. But now we've added in the Matt Baker, who's been the hot name for the last 18, 19 months or so. And I see other names. People are starting bringing up Joe Doolin a lot more all of a sudden. People have been talking about Kamen and in my world as well. And then if you go to an old Nick Carty is absolutely now the next name I've heard the most about is Vicente, whatever his real name is, Paul?
Nick Viscardi.
Nick Viscardi, his real name. That has been very popular as of late. I do want to shout out one book that did sell that just thoughts by us three because it's a popular book you all know. Let's just mention it. It's a Captain America #1 in a 2.5 sold for $86,000, and that's got to be the highest sale for a 2.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not one to scoff at $80,000 books because who the fuck am I? You know what I mean? But
yeah,
seriously, a 5.0 just sold last month for $100, and yeah, I know it's a Cap 1. There's a fair number of them out there. It's a 2.5, and it wasn't the best looking 2.5. But like, who the hell am I? You know what I mean? To be commenting on somebody buying a 2.5 Cap 1. But I thought that was high. I mean, there's the prices on GA books. I don't know what's the market for like Silver HTs or whatever right now. I think it's steady or rebounded or stable or whatever. But the GA stuff, man, it's like the Wild West out there on these auctions, man. These prices are just all over the place, and some of them are insanely high, I think. And yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe that Cap 1 is in a reasonable range for people who collect that, but
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like we were talking about before the show, it doesn't even have cover appeal. I mean, the cover's beat. You know, the spine is dirty and torn up, and I think that's way overpriced as well.
I mean, there are certain Golden Age books that we could talk about. A $20,000 Black Cat 8.5. It's sold as well. Now that's a book that DS knows very well. Has had what would you have? You had a 5.0.
No, I had a 7.0 light tan to off white, but it was a sharp looking 7.0. Yeah, I mean, I sold it when the prices started going through the roof on that, and I like that book, but I mean, I made a killing profit on that. And then 8.5. Now, given it was an old holder on this one that just sold, $20,700. And Comic Link's got a 3% buyer's premium. That's another $600, and then tax and shipping depending on where you live. So you're looking at $21K for an 8.5 Black Cat 50. Yeah, it's the consensus top PCH book along with Chamber 19. Man, I don't know, man. 20K, it's just like some of these prices I don't think are sustainable, but I guess that might get pressed up to a 9. And then, but look, that book is not rare and high grade either. There's lots of 9s for all the Harvey books. But yeah, 8.5 for the AF15 of PCH. You know, I think it's high, and I'm into PCH, but makes me think maybe I should just hold my 7.0 for an extra year.
That's the cap right there. And let me.
The Crime 22, I don't think sold yet.
Yes, it
Or-
did.
It did.
1925.
Wow.
Whoa.
Shut up.
You know, look, that has a collection label, so it's not a pedigree, but it's not a blue label. It's universal grade, but it's got the collection label because it's a file copy. An EC file copy, I mean, for me, big deal. But I mean, 8.5 on a book that there's plenty of to go for that amount. It's a status symbol for whoever bought that, is what I think. And I'm not. I think. I mean, if you have the money to burn, I guess you want the status symbol. You want to park that 8.5, CS22 in your driveway, and all your neighbors are impressed. All right, that's fine. It's a big book, but
Yeah. I don't know. Jeff, what do you?
I think more power to the person who bought that 8.5. Great. Anybody who wants to buy these books, more power to you. I just think for us, we've seen and watched enough of these books in time and feel that these are just heightened prices on certain occasions. And there'll be times where you can get these books again, maybe for less they'll come around.
Mhm.
But right now they're hitting a little high. For Crime Suspense 22, you know what I see all the time is a 7.0 and a 7.5. I don't usually see an 8.5 come up.
That's a good point.
I've seen the 7.0 and 7.5 come up a couple times now in the last couple of years. And I just haven't seen an 8.5. So I love this cover. This is one of my favorite. Black Cat 50 is okay too. It's good, but I'd like this over that. So to each their own. It's hard for me to say what's the right price, but I do think that cap's high. Unfortunately, the cap 1 for me and what it goes for. I've seen that book just sell too weak for too long and be too inconsistent. I'd rather almost spend another $15K to get a 4.0 that comes up randomly. That's the thing. You're paying this entry price kind of when you could wait a little longer and get a little higher grade.
And
9.8. What is that one? The Crime Suspense.
yeah. So there's only 6 copies higher than an 8.5. And yeah, when you get down to 7, 6, 5, 4, I mean, there's a lot on the census, but that is a pretty high grade. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still think it's a little high priced, but
it spiked at the end. I thought it was only a 12.
It was. I kept on refreshing as it was going. It went to 15 with about a minute left, and then with about 10 seconds left, it just jumped way up. But I mean, if you look, they also had this book.
You show the
Also,
Captain Flight?
I think looks really good. It's a 4.5, and it went for $2,700.
yeah, I mean, the lower grades are out there. There's probably 5 or 6 on eBay even. And people always want 1,000 to point on that. Like people will ask 4,000 on that or whatever. But yeah, 2,500 is usually what those are selling for, like in VG.
This is where that per point thing goes out the window. I'm not a big per point kind of guy. It's a fun way to just kind of kitschy, but like this per point thing, I'm not a believer in it. It's just a really weak way to truly put a price on a book. I mean, you're always going to have that entry level price to get into a book. Then you start navigating to the high end and you don't know where a number is going to go. You have this whole middle that you're trying to figure out, but like you're using 2 polars to somehow derive to this middle. And I just don't think it works just per point. That's just too simple. And,
Right.
and I think a lot of times that's used on the seller side to help navigate to a price and not for the buyer.
On PCH books or LD Cole books, for instance, the meat of the census, it's fairly accurate in my experience, price per point, and it's really for books that you see most of the time in the same range of grades, like 2.5 to like 4.5.
Yep.
And you'll see, a Weird Mysteries 4. It's always a 2.5 to a 4.0. Those are most all that come out. Most of the horror books, the LD Cole stuff, comes out in 4.0 and 4.5 constantly. So anywhere from like 2.5 to 4.5 when there's most of them in the census, most of the ones that show up, I feel like the price per point is fairly accurate. Now, when you get to the lower end, there's sort of a floor where it doesn't really drop that much as you go to the bottom. And as you go higher, it really accelerates exponentially. I don't know. For PCH, I like it, and I know a lot of people tell me I shouldn't use it. They don't like it. Like, I think I'm into a minority at this point. I mean, most people probably agree with Jeff. But it works for me for PCH in the meat of the census for stuff that's always on the market. It's pretty accurate, I feel like. But
if it's something that's always on the market, if something's always on the market, you're going to have that price history. I'm talking about stuff you just don't see that often. Like this Crime Suspense 22 just sold for $19K and 8.5. So we're assuming it's 2,000 a point. That means that 4.5 should be what, 9K?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't use the top of the census to judge it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, people play with it, especially the sellers, to try to get. Don't get caught up in that stuff, man. Like if you're out there trying to find
GPA doesn't work for some of this stuff because first of all, Comic Link results are not on GPA. All you think they have on GPA essentially is eBay, Connect, and Heritage.
Right.
And these books are so rare that they don't pop up very often on those three to end up on GPA. So if you go look up GPA on the Crime Suspense stories, there's a lot of GPA because there's a lot of copies. But on some of these rarer books, there is no GPA. Like what did I looked at one recently. I think I was trying to sell it and somebody didn't know how to price it. Yeah, I have it for sale on the boards right now. That Criminals on the Run, LD Cole Shark cover in 5.0. There's only like 8 on the census or something. There's no GPA data. So what is it worth? You know what I mean? It's tough to
pay for it.
Yeah, so I mean, there's not a lot of data. So I use price per point to help me for like meat of the order. But you know, it's not ideal, obviously. But
now here's an example of a book that there aren't that many of. It's very scarce, and I'm going to show it here. It looks really good, and this is a very high grade for this book. And I don't know if this qualifies as a pre-code horror, but it's definitely a bondage book with some hooded men right there. And it's the first, I think it's what's named the Red Rocket begins, the storylines begin in Captain Flight. Now, this sold for about $6,000. This is the second highest graded on the census of a probably a very hard cover to get, a 7.0. Again, is this under 1,000? Again, it's not very popular, but you never know. There is no famous name attached to it.
What did that sell for?
5,600. I think it's a bargain.
Yeah,
I would have said that was weak for that book from what I've seen on the lower end.
I honestly think it should have sold for a much higher, being the second highest graded, and being a pretty much when you know the Golden Age, you know the white covers are the hardest. I mean, the black covers are there, but that happens in every age. The white covers in the Golden Age to be this white and this nice. I was very shocked that this sold for less than 10 grand. And the fact that it almost halved that was my big shock. This is my big surprise outside of the cap, obviously, and that LB and that Black Cat. But this one here, it's a bondage cover, good girl art. There's a superhero attached and hooded men for 5,620 and the second highest graded of a rare, true scarcity book. You know, I mean,
I've seen a few of those, and they're always beat or restored or low grade or pieces missing or massive stains. So a rare book of that quality is 56. That's what I'm saying. I like books that are rare in a good condition like that. You know, there was another one, Daredevil 11. I think I was talking to Jeff about this when it was on the auction last month. Well, there were 2 of them, but there was a 7.0. And that's an all black cover, Daredevil 11. That was a 7.0. That is a tough book, and the black cover. And I passed on a 4.0, and the 7.0 only sold for like 4,200 for a 7.0 of that book. And that's a book you never see, and when you do, it's lower grade. That was a pretty massive grade for that book, and I don't know. That was a deal too. So there's still deals to be had out there, I feel like.
For years, I've been hunting down a Captain Science 3 that presents really well. If you don't know, it's a very large-headed vampire space book, and it's. I see, and a lot of you guys have seen me. I lost out on a few restored ones here and there. I've always wanted a really nice one. It's a Harvey Kinsler cover, so it's a good cover. again, I haven't seen that come up in auction the last 4, and I was ready to jump on it, and I still haven't seen that. But a book that we know here on the show, because we talk about it, I talk about the Pieta cover, and we have an LB Cole here. This 4.5, we have to talk about where this thing sold. This is hot. Final price on this book, $1,800.
Okay, so it didn't go higher.
It didn't go any higher, but this book has been around. I mean, for 2000, about 6 months ago, I'm pretty sure there was 7s of these things. These are pretty common. I don't want to say the word common, but they're not rare or scarce. They are out there. It's a beautiful cover. It's LB Cole. It's a known cover. I just kind of think congratulations to the seller on this one.
Yeah, well, let me show you this. If somebody wants to buy it, go ahead. I've been watching this for probably a year and a half. It's an old label, 8.0, and it's 8.0 off-white pages. Really sharp copy here. And this has been on Connect or Metropolis, the same company. In the last year, there's only 2 offers on it, and the highest is only $24.50.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this seller is asking, what does it say? Where does it even say what the seller's asking here? Buy it now for $42.50. Nobody's jumping on that for $42.50. There's only been 2 offers, and the highest is $24.50. So I feel like that's worth $24.50. So I don't know. Figure that out. You know what I mean? A 4.0 just sold for $1,800. Here's an 8.0. Nobody wants to pay over $24.50 for it.
Yeah,
it doesn't make a lot of sense, but
I'll say this really quick. Sorry, Paul, I just cut you off here.
No,
but,
that's fine.
The LB Cole Catmans have gotten soft the last 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel that there's opportunity there. Now, maybe there'll be a turnaround in some of them again. Maybe not. Maybe this is the start of something. Maybe somebody paid aggressively. I'm not sure, but they have been weak. So maybe we'll start seeing an influx of that. So just pointing that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy a Catman 28 as soon as the price is reasonable again, but I'm not paying $4,500 for a 4.0 on a Catman 28.
This
to bring
one
up
just ended.
And
Which one?
what did that go for?
25.5.
What just ended? This one?
Yep, Detective 33.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not 31, it's not 27, so it's kind of like one of the afterthought detectives before you get to the Batman title.
But it's the gun cover.
It is the gun. It is the holstered gun. You're right.
So I think guide for it is like 21, so it's pretty close to guide price.
I think it is the first gun cover of Batman, and the next
It
one
is.
a book that I think, and I think $80,000 is not a lot of money, not by any means, but these don't come around for years. I mean, you can go
that
years.
one's a legit rare book.
This is legitimately rare, scarce to find. That's not restored. I've seen. I think Jeff, you and I were in C2E2 when that guy had one at when Vinny had one, and it was restored at a 4.0. This is a 4.0 Universal label that sold for $80,000. I think that's about 15 to 20 less than I would expect for this book. I'm pretty sure the seller, who's probably watching, was expecting that as well. But it was better than the bid he got from anybody else. But I still think this is the first. By the way, first Alan Scott first, and the origin story. It's actually the whole book is pretty much Green Lantern. It's not one of those 4-story all American comics. This is the whole book. He's there.
Yeah, I want to hear Guru's thoughts on that too, JD, when you're done.
Yeah, Jeff, I mean, you and I talked about this book about 2 months ago this exact book. What's your thoughts? I mean,
I thought it would have performed better for that book. I really, especially showing a history, because there was a strong sale of, I think, a 6.0 that was over double plus of that book.
Yeah.
Like 1.5 times more than that price went for, and that was
like 212, 210.
Yeah, that was a couple years ago at least. I expected a higher number for that book. But kudos to the buyer.
Yeah.
Congratulations. 4.0 is definitely an amazing grade to have for that book. Solid. And like you, I expected it to clear 100. So it is what it is. Welcome to the auction game, right?
Well,
Yeah.
here's something interesting, that All-American 16 in 4.0 and the Cap 1 and 2.5, based on this auction, are of equivalent value. Which one would you rather have? I would take the All-American 16 in a 4.0 over the Cap 1 and the 2.5, but they sold for almost the exact same price. Or maybe it was the same.
I mean, we can next the chat that as well, and I'm gonna go back to the chat. But I really think that's a great way to do it. I would absolutely choose the All-American 16. Absolutely, I wouldn't even hesitate to choose that.
So I got a question for you guys, because this sold. What's your opinion on a coverless copy with a photocopy cover?
I pass.
Is that the only thing? It's only a photocopy cover, or is there anything else interior?
It's missing 2 pieces out of page 1.
Oh, effect story, or does it?
Effect story.
Yeah.
Who knows how big those are?
Well,
It's tough. I have an Action 7, no grade, photocopy cover, interior photocopy pages, and so I have it priced aggressively as well. But God, coverless. It's just coverless then. If it's for me, so I would think it's. God, what does that book normally sell for right now?
2.0 is
2.0's got to at least be.
I mean, a
2.0 is 31,000.
Like that's what it closed at.
No,
Oh, okay,
this went for 2,800.
2,800. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, all right, for $2,800, you're getting
across a cover, or somebody with a cover, or a beat copy that has missing interior pages. You can marry the cover, and a married cover on that book is going to skyrocket the value over 2,800. So
it's a $10,000 book right there, minimum.
Yeah,
minimum.
I mean, it's got creamed off white pages, and I think that's a lot of what the people do is they put the photocopy cover just so they can have something that looks good. But I think they're all looking for a cover to marry with.
Well, and it makes sense to grade that, because if you want to sell that, you're selling it to somebody presumably who is going to try to find a cover or has a low grade cover or pieces missing. They want to use some of these interior wraps in their incomplete copy. You want to get it graded because then you know what exactly you're getting when you buy it. Now, the facsimile cover is just to make a nice display piece, but you would want to grade that anyway at that level of book, because you want somebody to be sure that they are getting whatever wraps are in there and it's legit. So it makes sense to grade it. I would just grade it without the facsimile cover. I think we'd get the same price.
I think you might even get a little bit more as a coverless copy.
Depending how big of a piece this is that's out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a blue label. Let's not be shy about that. That is a blue label. That's not some green. I mean, it would be a green, or it would be. I mean, I guess maybe you can find a conserved. You'd have to push for that, but I don't think you can. But I honestly think a blue label centerfold. Yeah, I mean,
this is probably destined for one of those Franken books we see that grades out as 9.0 restored.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a Franken book Tech 31. When you're only into it for 2,800 plus whatever the other pieces you have.
Oh, you're going to make money.
5 times your money if you find the cover. Now, a book that I want to share because of the price one, I think legitimately this was good for all. 7.5 All-Star number 8, first appearance of Wonder Woman. I'm not going to mention that Dr. Midnight joins the team, but that's part of it. 150 on the nose. Okay. That didn't set a new record. It didn't set anything low. This is, smart buying, smart selling. I think it was fair right there. These aren't as rare as the All-American 16, mind you. Let's just cover that right now. There are more of these than there are of the All-American 16 by far. But Wonder Woman is not Green Lantern, and Alan Scott is not Hal Jordan. So,
yeah, you never see 7.5 of that. I mean, I see a lot of.
This is where I think this is the highest grade. I think this is the highest grade this auction site has had, but I know Heritage has had the 9.2. Heritage that I don't know Comic Link ever having.
There's an 8.0 to it as well.
Was it Comic Link or was it Heritage had an 8.0. I remember one con I was at, Heritage was there doing their booth, and they were talking about a 9 in this book with white pages, which I thought was bizarre. But still a good book. I mean, for 6 figures, 150,000, that was a fair deal, and I think that kind of keeps the market where it is on Wonder Woman herself. Again, she's not on the cover. If you guarantee if she's on the cover, this is 200 easily.
For sure. And in more demand.
Yeah. I think Sensation 1 still gets a lot of extra bump because of it being the first Wonder Woman cover.
I'll show you a book I just lost on as we were starting the show if you want to see.
Sure.
Okay.
I was going to ask you about that one.
Yeah, LB Cole, Flight 11, last issue of the title, black cover. Pretty good looking copy here, too. No spine ticks, just very little edge wear. They don't have a back cover pick, but 4.0 off white. So I bid $17.45 on it, which I think is top dollar for this book. And I was the underbidder. It sold for $17.55. Now, I don't know how much higher that person bid, so I didn't get into a bidding war. But I bid $17.45 on it, and I lost. So I've been trying to get one of these. I saw like a 4 or 5 on the boards, I think, sold for like 23.
Okay.
And I talked to that seller, and I just couldn't work something out because I didn't want to pay that much for it. So I still don't have that book, but that was my loss for tonight.
I might have one for you, DS. I don't think I sold my copy last auction or last season, comic season. I don't think. So I might have one for you. I'll let you know. I got to go through my stuff. I have some stuff still in transit from January because my friend was driving it back, and then COVID hit because he was going to meet me in Emerald City. And I have like 6 short box of Golden Age books that just this guy's had since January. And I have that book. I don't think I sold it, and I'll let you know. And I think it's like a 4.0. It's raw.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
I definitely would like to take a look at it. I mean, for that book, I want something that's presentable too, because of the black cover. I don't want chunks missing, but I don't need it to look pristine. That copy was a nice copy, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, shoot me some pics. We might be able to work something out because that's a book I love, and I love cool sci-fi stuff. And I just picked up that Blue Bolt I showed you guys last week.
Yep.
Congrats on that. That's an awesome book.
Thanks. I feel like that for the price I paid for that was $3,800 for a beautiful looking 4.5. I feel like that's cheap compared to what this other stuff's going for, honestly.
Yeah, I mean that a 4.5 in that book that you got is a good, solid mid-grade for that book. Very good in that one.
It never comes up for sale. And, if you're talking about LB Cole stuff, there's a lot of LB Cole fans. I know it's cooled off a little bit, but he's massively popular. And among LB Cole fans, the Masks 1 and 2 are at the top of the list. And then Blue Bolt 105 is right there, man, right after it, along with, people like Starling 11, but there's a few of them out there, and it's later work of his. Later, it's 1952. But yeah, I think Blue Bolt 105 is a rock solid top 5 LB Cole book and a top 5, maybe top 8 Golden Age sci-fi overall, honestly.
I agree. Really quick, I want to touch on your All-American. Sorry, JD, but the All-American 16 and the Cap 1. I didn't get to say it, but I want to mention. So you would take the All-American 16, but we're talking about a Cap 1 that oversold and an All-American 16 that undersold.
Right.
So let's just assume Cap 1 sold for 65, okay, and then the All-American sold for 120. Which one would you go for then?
If price was not an option, like I'm a millionaire, I would probably still go for the All-American because you just don't see it, and it's a nice sort of mid-grade copy. Cap 1, you have money to burn. I would just wait on a better Cap 1 than spend all that money on a 2.5.
And exactly my point. I could buy a Cap if I had all the money, and where I know I don't know. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I know about a dozen people with a Cap 1. At least I know one person with 3 of them. We know at least 2 or 3 to have them. I only know one. I only know one person with an All-American 16. I knew 2 of them, but he sold his today. That was his 4.0, and now I know one other person that has one, and I'm pretty sure he's not selling it anytime soon. Personally, no. That one that sold for really high, Paul. Right?
Yeah, I was going to ask DS what he thought of fair
What
price.
did it sell for?
95.
9,500.
Yep.
Look, that book it's a good one. It's not the greatest Cole horror book ever, but it's up there. It's rock solid. I mean, that's top. It's like at the bottom of the top tier for that kind of stuff.
You know what?
The prices on that
That
book-
probably grades out higher than that, really, because it's a blue label, but it says on the inside, written to Jeffrey with best wishes and good fortune with your collection, LB Cole.
My friend texted me about this book that I should buy it because it says
You
to
should have
Jeff.
bought that book. Yeah.
I just bought an LB Cole Suspense 8 that says to Jeff. Good luck on your collecting.
Yeah.
So I have one, and he's like, "You should buy this," and it was at 4,500 like 45 minutes ago. So the fact that it doubled plus,
Well,
I mean, what do you think
But this
it
one's
probably
all
would've-
over the place. I actually had a 4.5 that I sold on Heritage a few months ago. I think it was this year, but it was a 4.5 that I sold on Heritage, and it went for 2,800. And then a 4.0 just sold like last week for like 1,500. A couple weeks ago, maybe 1,500. So that was a huge drop in price. It was like half the price for a same book. And then the 7.0 comes up, and now that's almost 10 grand, but it's got a signature, so it's hard to judge what that would have went for. I mean, that's a high grade for that book. These star books, it's not like there's mile high copies out there. I mean, there's
Right.
probably one, but there's not like a bunch of 8s and 9s of this book. There's probably a 9.0, and then there's probably an 8.0, and then probably that one.
Well, and I'm thinking if it didn't have the signature because it obviously got downgraded for it because they went with the blue label, it might be like an 8.0.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. It did affect it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful copy, and usually don't see them that high, but I wasn't expecting that to go to 95. Honestly, I think for that book in that grade, probably, assuming no signature, I would probably value it around, I don't know, between 5 and 6 grand, probably.
I think a book that did sell tonight for 15,000. I think it's a fair price. I think it's a pretty good buy for the buyer.
1.8 for sure.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Let's show that. Show that again. Come on, Jeff. Does that say two Jeff on it though?
No, unfortunately, I got to put it in Sharpie. So there's 1.8 and 1.8, but I was told I can upgrade this potentially to a 9. So we're gonna see what happens.
Well, I'm going to check the census and see. But that's a pretty 8.0, man. That's killer on that.
Speaking of 8.0, this original owner collection, first all winners. This has you got Black Marvel. I'm sorry, you got Black Marvel. You got. Let me just hit it again so you can. Come on, tablet. Let's get this thing going. Black Marvel. You got the Angel. You got Human Torch, Toro, Cap, and Bucky, and Submariner. This is the first all winners in an 8.0. Sold for 15,000. That's right in line where this went 2 years ago. I was a big fan of the All Winner Volume 2 because of Blonde Phantom, but this one was always on my radar, and it's still holding stuff. But I think this is a good buy at 15,000 because of the original owner 8.0. It's common. It's not. There's not rare ones, but it is a. It's not a Schoenberg or anything else like that. It's probably Carl Burgess probably did it. Doesn't even say. Or Bill Everett could have done that. Submariner, you never, But there you go. Interesting. We have to remember Knights as part of it, so we have to have a timely in there outside of that.
Yeah, here's the census numbers on that Blue Bolt 115. I was actually way off.
What is it?
So there's 48, so moderately rare. But the top of the census, there's a 9.8, a 9.6, a 9.4, a 9.2, 8.5, 2 8.0s, and then a 7.5, and then 4 7.0s.
Crazy, man.
Wow.
Never would have thought there's that many.
I wouldn't have thought there was all those high 9s. Like for a star book, stars, they're not the highest quality.
It's star. It's a black cover.
That's number
there's
one.
A couple high grades out there, like a 9.0 or a 9.2, and then most of the rest are like 5s and 6s or something. But
It's nuts.
and you can see the 4.5 I sold is the most common grade. I know 6.5 is pretty common. But I mean, look at the meat of that census from 7.0 down to, down to 2.5. There's quite a few in there from like 4.5 to 7.
That's it. I'm throwing this up on for sale. It's for sale now, guys. It's garbage.
How much?
Man.
I'll buy it.
I'm
I'll give you 500 a point.
gotta upgrade this thing here first and see what happens.
Oh yeah, get them going on that per point, man.
Yeah, 500 a point, yeah.
There is a book I was keeping an eye on, and it's about to end, and it just jumped past my bid because my highest was 3,000 for it. But my Frazetta, one of my favorite Frazetta covers.
Yeah, I was kind of keeping an eye on that one too.
Yeah, I had 3,000 as my high. It's already past it, so I don't ever stray from my original bid. But
I don't know if that's the same copy, but a 7.5 just sold on Heritage, like within a few weeks, like a month ago. A 7.5 sold for 9,500, and I was going to go for $4,000 on it, and it went for 95. So I was way off.
Yeah, this one currently right now minimum bid of 32,
And it's still got 21 hours.
and it's tomorrow, by the way. So yeah, because we're in the Fs for tomorrow.
I'm track $8,000 because it's
gonna fly. I was keeping an eye on it because it was a Frazetta that it's one of my favorite Frazettas out there. Another book in this auction that I wanted to bring up because a book where were we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago. I think I got to go. Isn't it? Geez, for you. Here it is. I don't understand it. If it's possible, it's the single highest graded. It's a 9.6 white pages on ACG. Now, anybody ever have an ACG book that wasn't a piece of shit? This is the one. I mean, 9.6. I mean, yes, it's single highest graded, and let's be honest. The man's girlfriend's a complete dog,
I mean, that's crazy for an ACG.
It is crazy. That's why I'm sitting here thinking there's a 9.4 in a pretty well-known cover. I think we've talked about this. It's actually considered a vampire cover, which I disagree with, but here she is again, that lovely, good-looking woman right here. She's a dog.
I have an ACG book for sale. It's the second highest graded. There's a 7.5 is the highest by itself, and then after that, there's a 7.0 by itself. I have the 7.0, and it's an ACG book, and there's only 6 on the census. I'm not even getting offers on it. I've dropped the price down. It's a 7.0, second highest graded. It's that 3D one with the white cover, and the guy.
Yes.
It's not even a Ken Bald cover either. It's one of those 3D True Vision, and it's a Harry Lazarus cover. It's cool as hell. The 7.0 white cover, and I'm at like $575 on it, and nobody is even making offers or asking. I'm just going to send it to Comic Link and see what happens because I don't know, man. But yeah, it's 7.0, second highest graded ACG.
And I did see an Edgar Church book out there. I don't know if you guys kept an eye on the Green Llama. This was the Edgar Church variant right now. It's tomorrow. It's a 9.6. It's the last issue of the run, but you're gonna love who the cover is. It doesn't say it on here, but I'm pretty sure that's. I always thought, yeah, Mac Raboy did do that cover. We talked about this on a while back. I was discussing this book. It was from Spark, who Fawcett bought. So I was just interested that book is still out there. No elephant on it, but a giraffe. But that's always fun. I'm just kidding. I'm not starting that freaking thing. One of the things I wanted to ask Paul, being a military collector or military style collector, have you seen an increase in the gray tones to where you need now, and this goes to our topic, that people are buying gray tones once they hit that 7580 go for way high, where the per point. Oh, and I wanted to bring up this about the per point. I was talking to one of the big dealers and about the per point. He goes, that only works for the meat of your sandwich, not the 2 pieces of bread, the low end and the high end. Well, look at that.
And have the outliers.
Okay, let me look at that. That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice. If you need this, I know you need this one.
I like the black cover ones better.
Yeah, I know, but it's a white cover, second highest graded.
Here's black, right? It's got the black border on the interiors.
Yeah, the pages on the inside are black, and then it just has perspectives like this. So it's a cool, funky, sort of gimmicky thing, but nice copy, man. Nobody wants it. I don't know.
I'm shocked. Nobody wants it.
I sold my the 25, the flying vampire one in the 5.5. I sold that for a nice premium on the boards, which I was shocked at because that seems to be where the cheapskates are on ACG books right now.
You should have put 1,200 on it, and someone would have bought it.
What this?
Yeah.
I had 1,200 on it to start. Yeah, I've been moving it down steadily from 1,200. From 1,200 to 595, I have not had one inquiry or one offer.
Put it on auction, man. I'm sure you'll get it.
There's guys out there that want the second highest graded copy of There's Only Six on the Census. They would just want it anyway and make me a lowball offer. Nothing. Nobody's interested. I was excited to get it, man. It's like, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'll send it to Comic Link.
You know, in this auction as well as that 9.0 Hulk 1, whatever. I mean, I saw that it's not a 9.0. I still hate that book. I hate that I don't know if you've all seen it. It's I think it's a 9.0 or 9.2 that I've seen pictures of this. It's not if that's a 9.2, then my FF50 over here is a 9.5 is a 9.8. You know, it was terrible. I am 9.0 grade. But Tech 31 here. Price point works for under 5.0. The multiples get out. Let me put this up here. We would talk about the meat and the sandwich here, and the price per point I always say would be like if you have a ham and cheese sandwich, the 2 pieces of bread are going to be outside that thing, but the ham and the cheese usually go per point. Price point works for under 5. Multiples get out of the way. Whack, mid grade, high grade. Of course, you'll always have the floor price for entry level books as well, right? That's a absolutely fantastic point where. Your own book, buddy, Tech 31. We've seen this on your book.
All right, well, I'm adding Tech 31 to my price per point bullpen now, so now I got a heavy hitter in there with me. So anybody, like go talk to him. So
well, that's got to be what $10,000 a point. The
Which
Tech
book?
31, 7,500 to 10,000 a point. I mean, I've seen 4 sell for in the 60,000 range. So
there was a 0.5.
4s are over 100.
now, yeah.
There was a 0.5 at Baltimore. I think at Baltimore there was a 0.5 complete, unrestored, just low grade. It was just beat up. Didn't look bad for a 0.5, but I mean, it's a 0.5. It's not a stellar looking book. Tech 31. And it sold, I think he had like 32,000 on it. It sold quick to another dealer who bought that and some other stuff. So I don't know what they paid. But
I'd say 25, 26.
I don't think Reese bought it along with some other stuff from that guy.
Really?
I think Reese bought a bunch, including that.
There's a Teenage Dope Slaves on here, by the way, Paul.
Oh, a Soti book.
Oh, nice.
In this auction, so
I mean, are any of you guys into collecting the Wertheim books or Soti books?
I have one.
I mean, I've got a few just because it just so happens to be part of it, but I don't care. Jungle 98, don't care. Jungle.
It's not. I don't seek them out specifically.
Yeah, there are a lot of them, and there are.
I probably have a couple.
There are a lot of them.
But I'll tell you, if Wertham came and looked at my collection, all of my books are Soti books. You know what I mean?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have the?
I got some Wally Woods that from the '60s that.
This actually makes me think because I know we've talked about the shock suspense or crime suspense stories. You've got. Do you have that other beheaded cover DS, the one where they're pushing the body down in the sewer?
No, it's Fight Against Crime 20, and I think that is the better one. It's harder.
Yeah, I know you've said you like that one better.
All right, so a 3.5. I was looking at in this past Comic Connect auction. I was looking at the Blue Bolt 105, which I won, and that book, which came after it in the auction. But that one was a 3.5. All right, looking, and I think it sold for 45. So I didn't want to wait because I knew that would jump, and so I got the Blue Bolt. And then there was a 6.5 out there that I talked to somebody who has a 6.5, and we sort of had preliminarily a price in mind, but I never got that amount in time. And I bought the Blue Bolt, and I think that has been sent to an auction house, and I think it's coming up in the Comic Link feature auction or
the summer feature.
Yeah, I think it's the same copy. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to her, but no. So it's on my list, but I haven't. I'm not overpaying for it, but if I'm going to pay, it's expensive. I want a good copy. You know, I want a decent looking copy, and I'll pay. But that 3.5 versus the Blue Bolt didn't make the cut. The 6.5 made the cut, but it just was too expensive for where I'm at right now. So it still hasn't worked out for me.
Here's
looking forward. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I was just going to show this. LB Cole, Ghostly Weird. This one here. I always thought, and I might be wrong, but prior to me being on the show and knowing DS, when I always thought LB Cole, this was the book that I always used to hear people talk about. More than I got into the Terrors of the Jungle. I had a bunch of those. Actually, I bought them from Gene, and this here. I mean, this could make a run. It's at 3,000 now. This could easily make a run. DS and Jeff. I mean, I always thought this was the harder one to come by of all the books. This is the one you don't see as much.
Well, that's not as hard to find as the Blue Bolt that I bought, but it's averagely hard to find. But it's not only that copy is a beautiful looking 6.0, which is higher than you normally see, but the reason that will sell white pages on that book, and it's stellar looking. And, you know, an average looking 6.0 would probably sell for around 35. That's going to go to 5,000 because it's such a good looking copy, bright colors, white pages, good staples. I mean, I'm watching it, but
good.
It's going to go to 5K on that. But normally you can get a 5.0 probably for, you know, 2,000 to 2,500. So it's not
okay.
It's big, but that's a beautiful looking copy. It looks like an 8.5 and it's got white pages.
Yeah, it has that mark on the lower side of the spine. It's got a lot of color breaking. Right at the staple, all the way down. Yeah, you could see a color break right there on the black line.
Yeah, but I mean, for a book from 1953 or 54, I mean, look at the colors on this thing, and it's white pages, sharp corners. I mean, this thing is a beautiful looking copy. So that's going to go high because that's such a nice copy.
I mean, I have a few. Go ahead, Jeff.
I get some Sharpies that'll fix that puppy right up to 8.5.
Oh, boy.
I'll tell you, you'd be hard pressed to find Sharpies in these colors, though.
I'm looking ahead in the
auction. I got a guy. I'm not kidding you.
I use my Prismacolor pencils and
find them anywhere. I got all sorts of art pencils. I'm still drawing. So
it's a fantastic book. I think it has lost some ground on being the top LB Cole book of late. Only problem because some people, I think, as people have exposed themselves more to LB Cole, that wider base has now seen other LB Coles on top of that are for them cooler and more attractive than a bright red color. They seem to like more of the dark contrast, the black covers with the heavy color contrast to it, opposed to the bright weird one. I mean, I love that book. It's a cool concept, but it's another guy getting eradicated, just like Black Cat 50.
Yeah, well, speaking of LB Cole black covers, that not Target Comics, that's the one you sold me, Jeff. The Power Comics 3.
Oh, yeah.
You guys know which one that is? There was a 7.5 on Heritage, which I bid on 2 or 3 weeks ago. 7.5, black cover, beautiful looking copy. Thing sold for $5,000. That's just a random ass, like, cool LB Cole black cover book in a nice grade that you don't see that often. But $5,000, I mean, that's like digging deep into LB Cole stuff. Most people wouldn't even be familiar with it, and if that sold for $5,000. So yeah, the black cover stuff definitely sells for more.
This have any staying power as an LB Cole? I've seen this cover so many times. I mean, I've asked somebody about it, and they swear that it's a good book. I'm like, I see more of them ungraded than graded.
I mean, that's out there. There's another one similar style not similar style, like price point where it just doesn't move. Is the Killers? It's called Killers.
Killers, right? That's the one.
Front. Those are cool books. LB Cole fans like them, but they don't want to pay a lot for them. So mid grades go for like $600, and they always go for $600, and they never go up, and they sell eventually. They're not hot books. It's cool, but I mean, it's not. I wouldn't consider it highly sought after or anything.
So looking ahead in 2 days, they've got a Sensation Comics number 150 ending, and a Wonder Woman comics #1 and 5.0. Right now, they're pretty close in price. One's 23.5, the other one's 21.5. Think they'll stay that close together, or do you think one will split off?
Sensational split off.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, Sensation's a better book.
I
like
actually
not
cover
how
the
Wonder-
cover on Wonder Woman, but
Let's say it's
Sensation's the
better
bigger book.
cover. It's a better book. It's not just the Wonder Woman story in Sensation either.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
what makes
Sensation's her second appearance, right? Wonder Woman 1 is her third.
Yep.
Uh,
Sensation is the first cover, second appearance, and Wonder Woman 1, I think, is the third appearance.
I thought Wonder Woman 1 was the second appearance, but Sensation was first cover. I don't know.
right.
No, Sensation came out first.
Oh, did it?
Sensation came out first, and then Wonder Woman was, I think, the following month. But there's, Sensation 2. No, definitely goes Sensation 1. I always thought Sensation 1 was the better book because it not just included her on the first cover appearance, but there's also other stories in there as well that, again, this is when people used to read the books and not slam them.
Yeah.
I'm serious. That's
Sensation
exactly
was-
the way.
Sensation was January of 42. Wonder Woman 1 was summer of 42.
Here's an interesting book coming up at the end of the auction. It's got sort of a quirky thing about it, but it's Weird Comics #1,
Good old Fox, gotta love him.
and it's a 5.0, but it's an old book, and it says Lou Fine cover, but it's not a Lou Fine cover. It's a George Tuska cover. I think they've since amended that label. So the label and the description on Comic Link say Lou Fine classic cover. I don't know if that's going to affect the price. I think people buying it know, but that could be an issue depending on how high it goes if somebody thinks they're getting a Lou Fine cover.
Yeah, I hope they don't. I hope they put an amendment there or something like that.
I mean, you could tell it's not fine. Look at the guy in the background. I mean, that's not a fine.
Oh, I didn't even see there was a Planet 1 in the auction.
No,
Yeah,
this is-
sky high.
It's just kept us honest, by the way. You said Wonder Woman 1 is like her 8th or 9th appearance. So
Oh, damn.
He's like, no.
I was doing Batman.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm Sensation 3 since she's in it, and that's before Wonder Woman 1. I'm looking
Okay.
up this one.
If that Planet
And
1,
I know she was in All Star 11, which I think was before.
I hope that Planet 1 cracks 10 grand. I think the last one sold for 9. If that cracks 10 grand, I may put some feelers out of my 5.5 and try to sell it because that would mean
It's
I
got
don't-
almost 2 days left, and it's already at 5,300. So
What grade is it?
6.5.
How about the Power comics? Did you see the Power 4?
What's 4 look like? Is that
Yeah, that's not a. I think that's
Heads?
That is LB Cole. My question is that LB Cole?
yeah.
so?
Okay. This is from the Nick Cage collection, so it should be downgraded if you ask me, but for bad acting. But here you have the Black Raiders, Miss Espionage, Merlin, the Boy Magician, and Dr. Mephisto. Kind of a cool cover. There are some people that collect those vulture covers, but this is a bird cover here. It's currently at 1,500, but it's a 7.0. I don't know. Is this one of the ones that they'll be?
I wouldn't spend $1,500 on that.
I would say that seems to be a great price. Old label too, by the way. I want to.
I would spend $1,500 on that.
That's a
No
good
way.
one.
Is that the current bid on it?
Yeah,
What's the grade?
7.0, old label.
Yeah. I mean,
You know, that's a true old label. I was gonna ask you guys, like that's the old label I recognize as something that's gradable.
That's-
Anything else to me, if it's not that old style label, it's just another generation of label that I don't necessarily feel like I need to risk.
This
Yeah.
is Generation 1. These are the ones I look for in Bronze Age. I look for all the Bronze Ages I could find in this. 9.0 or higher. I look for them everywhere. It doesn't matter what the book is, to be dead honest with you.
There you go. Another classic PCH for
That's classic.
DS. To,
Now,
yeah,
here's
that
something
was
weird.
good, too. I have a 5.0.
do you?
I
Nice.
think we were talking about this privately on our own chat, but let me. I think this deserves that higher tier. I'm all right. Maybe not Black Cat 50 or Chamber 19, but
No,
I
it's
always
top five.
this is right there. Yeah, this is right there. I think it's the better cover. I like it more than I like the other two. I
Well,
personally
here's the deal too. This is a Bernard Bailey cover. He doesn't have a ton
Right.
of stuff out there cover wise. But this is the best one in the run, arguably. And when you see a 5.0 of this, it's not like a 5.0 of a Timely or something. This, for the longest time, the census was topped out at 7.5. Now, I understand recently an 8.0 appeared on the census, but it drops pretty quick. There's not tons of them higher than a 5.0. 5.0 on this book is like low range of high grade for this book, honestly. And, you know, I expect this to go for 65 to 7, honestly. Pretty tough book to find in that grade, yeah.
I think it's of all the pre-code horror that are considered the popular ones, I always thought this one was better than all the other ones. I mean, I get the horrific, I get all the other books. I get the Black Heat, the White Heat, whatever. I get the Black Hat 50. I get everything having to do with that. But this one defined pre-code horror to me because it was just so over the top. But
yeah, the Weird Mysteries Bernard Bailey stuff and the Mr. Mystery Bernard Bailey stuff, those are two like hardcore PCH collectors recognize that is top tier stuff, and that is the best of them. Yeah, I expect 65 to 7 on that. That's a high grade. A 5.0 is a high grade on that.
Yeah,
Paul,
I mean it's like Ace or any of those books. You just don't see high grade stuff from them.
Paul was with me when I missed out on this one, but I tried to buy it from Richie at C2E2, and I had the money right there, and he said I just sold it an hour ago. I almost bought a 7.0 at this at a really good price. I still wanted this book. It's my favorite. It's weird. I know it's a niche book. By the way, for anybody not knowing, this is Showcase 1, still considered part of the Golden Age, even though it's got the label that DS hates. But it's right there. I think this is an underrated book. I like it. I mean, it's the first of the series. Obviously, the fourth one is the one everybody wants. But I can't believe I missed out on this one for what I paid for it, and I haven't wanted to buy it since. Because in spite, I'm not going to buy it.
It's a cool book, man. Especially at 7.0. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you the thing on this. The zombie, the Red Banner zombie, is almost always faded to some degree. And this one is not. It's bright. And 7.0 on this copy is nice. I had a copy of this. The one I had was what I had 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah, tough 7.0. You don't see that very often in this book. It's the first appearance too of Simon Garth, the Marvel zombie, but it's not the first zombie in comics. A lot of people say it's the first zombie in comics. It's not even close. It's the first Simon Garth, the Marvel zombie.
Okay.
But yeah, one of the better.
2,100 right now.
How much?
2,200. But it's got 2 days to go.
Yeah, I don't know if 7.0 of that. I would say I'm gonna guess like 45.
I would
That
say
would be
45, 5,000, right in that.
That would be a strong sell for that book. It got soft here last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I sold my 3.5. 1,200, I think I got for it last year. That's strong for a 3.5.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a nice copy, Jeff. I think I would not be surprised at 5.0, but 5,000. But look at the prices in the auction. You know what I mean? If that sells for 5,000, it's not going to be like, oh my God, it sold for so much.
No, I'm not saying it can't happen. I just think it would be a really strong number for that book.
Pretty nice shrunken head cover.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, a great copy.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Anyone have a centerfold? Because I need a centerfold.
Buy that one.
Yeah,
buy that.
one.
Buy that, crack it out, take centerfold out.
Marry it and then sell the 8.5 incomplete. And
So it's only at $2,000 right now.
That's
entry level. There's a really entry level book out there. If anybody wants to take that opportunity, entry level Will Eisner cover 2.0 and really nice presenting 2.0. To be honest with you, I mean, I'm actually I'm interested to see what the greatest notes say. Because it's got one thing in here. It says tape on interior cover. Don't give a rat's ass. She's fine.
Yeah, I was watching that one. I was tempted to bid on it, only if her head was chopped off, I'd be all over it. But,
well, yeah, that's true. Because the woman is intact.
I get it. That's a cool book, though. I like it.
It is. It's Will Eisner, and I lost out on my Will Eisner elephant. I'm still angry about it. We're not going to even go there.
This auction has some
are you
pretty good
Superman
high grade
fan?
PCH stuff.
Spellbounds don't hold their value. I've had 8.0s. I've had 7.5s. They $400-500, $500. There are a lot of stories to keep you spellbound, with the exception of the classic the Worm. What's that, number 3?
Yeah, Spellbound 3, the Russ Heath cover.
Yeah, it's a Russ Heath Worm. It's also, I've heard, and I can get somebody there. It's the first pre-code horror story written by Stanley. Not that would make it me any more wanting to buy it, but it's something to add to the value of the book. You guys have seen, I've had 3, 5, 7, 4, 5. It's a book that comes back here and there. I paid $125 for one of a 4.0 white pages of number 4. So, I mean, stories keep you spellbound. They just don't retain their value. They just don't.
Spellbound 3 and a 5.0. Look, for Atlas PCH, if you want to invest, I'm not saying collect what you like, not that. But if you want to invest in Atlas pre-code horror,
mystery
higher grades. You want to get near the top of the census. You don't need the highest graded copy, but you want 6.5, 6.0. You want upper echelon grades on Atlas PCH. That's where it is for Atlas PCH, because there's tons of them out there. And if you're getting VG copies, they're cool, but they don't appreciate much over time. But the upper grade, I would say 6.0, it would be a good floor for Atlas PCH investing. But when you get a 7.5, 8.0 of an Atlas PCH, you're talking that's near the top of the census, because there's not like a 9.8 on those most of the time.
Yeah,
That's my favorite Wolverton cover right there, I think.
Oh, yeah. That's a classic.
So for Spellbound, really quick, like I have a Spellbound one I've been holding on to for like 5 years, like hoping Spellbound is going to do something. But like you said, it doesn't seem to really move. Even Spellbound 1, you see Journey into Mystery 1 move. Mystery Tales number 1 even had like a hot moment where that was a really expensive book. You know, Journey. What's that?
Mystery Tales 16 is probably that vampire, that half vampire, half. It's kind of like cut in half. Yeah, those classic books. I mean, those things there. But I agree with you on the Spellbound. What do you have? Which one do you have?
One, and I've been holding on to it forever, and it's a really nice copy. I'll probably just get it graded and see what happens. It's got a couple little things, small spine splits, and a small chip, but you know, I don't know. I'm just something out of
it. It's weird. But Carl Burgess is a good artist. I don't think he doesn't get the timely credit that Everett does and Heath does and Manili does, but Carl Burgess is right up there with him, and he did a lot of those Spellbounds. Everett did a lot of them, and Saul Brodsky is another name that you'll see a lot on those. Yeah. They just don't tend to move, and I'm a fan of them. I mean, the shadowing, the colors, they're bright colors sometimes. It's a good Atlas horror book, and it's entry level pre-code horror if you're interested in it. It just hasn't had its moment, and you know, there's no Sgt. Pepper album in there that everybody wants other than the third one.
Well, and the Atlas PCH, there's a handful of the top covers, and those are like PCH cover top tier books. The rest of the Atlas PCH is in 2 categories. There's the 3 pre-hero titles, which everybody wants the number 1, Tales to Astonish, Journey into Mystery, and Strange Tales. People buy number 1 issues of that because of what they become later on. But a number 1 of any other Atlas PCH title is just as good as a 6 or a 19 or a 4 or 7. That it doesn't matter what number it is. And really, if you don't have like a 6.0 or higher, at least, if it's not a top tier cover, they're $300. They're $300. They're $250, $300 all the time. And I feel like with the PCH craze that has already arrived, nobody does not know what PCH is at this point. It's here to stay, and these Atlas books that haven't moved. If they haven't moved yet, they're probably not going to move.
Nice.
Unless it's one of the top covers, like a Venus 19 is crazy. Mystery Tales 19 is a decent Heritage and Zombie cover. That Menace 5, Spellbound 3. I mean, one of the top covers, those are top PCH covers and will move along with the PCH market. But the other Atlases sort of get left behind. They're cool books. They're affordable. I feel like they sell good at cons, but but not for a lot of money, and they don't go up in value, but they sell quick at cons.
They do, and that's a bingo point right there. They do. I bought all mine at cons. I made deals with them at cons for the 3 or 4 spellbound, and I bought a lot more raw than I did buy slabbed of those because honestly, they're Stanley stories. You never know what's going on in there and stuff like that. There is also a Superman 14 in this auction as well. That's an 8.0.
The Mystic Comics 2.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I think
That
that's
was a
on.
pretty good book.
Yep, that's tons of coloring on that one. The fire cover, yeah.
Early pulp Schomburg on this one. I feel like it's still sort of relatively affordable. I know it's got 2 days left. Well, it's at 1,119 for a 2.0 off white. So maybe it is starting to climb, but I feel like that's a decent looking 2.0.
It is, yeah. Quick question here. Actually, I do have somebody asked here, is Mystery Tales 9 a decent book? Is that the Bill Everett cover?
Which one?
The one with it's a woman screaming, I think. Hang on.
I'm not familiar with it. Let me look it up.
Pull that one up. It's got skeletons in there and everything.
I don't want to overlook your Mystery Tales too that you had up there, Paul. That was a cool book.
That was pretty cool, yeah.
Oh, that one.
That one, yeah. Yeah, it's probably mid-grade, maybe 1,000 for a high grade, mid-grade.
Yeah, if you had a 6.0 or higher for it, it would be
More than 1,000.
But yeah, the census for this book, there's 2 8.0s tied for highest. After that, there's 165, and then that's what I'm saying. So if you get a 6.0, you got third highest graded. Now there's 4 6.0s, 6 5.5s, a bunch of 5s, 4s, 4 5s, 3 5s. But yeah, 2 8.0s, and then it drops to 6.5 and 6.0. So if you have like a 6.0 on that book, that's
$1,000.
Decent copy.
Seen some strong sales of that book in the last couple of years in mid grade.
I do have a housekeeping thing to do on Comic Core. We have Rylan Grant is doing a Kickstarter. He's going to be joining us here on the Comic Core soon, and I just want to put it out there. Here it is. It's a Kickstarter. I'll put it in the chat here. It's he's the Ringo Award winner. He's been a friend of the Comic Core. We've interviewed him here and there. He's doing a Kickstarter on a new book called Jump, and we're getting kind of excited. So I'm going to copy this link here and put it here into, and I'll mention it again later on. Really cool. Rylan Grant, Jax, and my favorite book he did was Aberrant, with just some of the funniest, great references you can have right there. I'm just going to put it in there. You can check it out if you're interested. You sign up right now. You don't have to pay anything now. You just to get information on it. I wanted to make sure that you guys got that out there. Banner wise, we're not closing up shop by any means because there's a Superman 14 in there that's going for $5,000. It's an 8.0 old Generation 2 label. How about that?
Which one is Superman 14?
It's the American Eagle.
The black
Shield.
cover?
Black cover.
Black with the shield.
It's currently I don't know what it's at right now. I'll just show the picture of it. It's an 8.0.
Oh yeah.
Jerry Ordway redid this in the 80s when he was writing with when he was drawing the Mall of Wolfen Run, when it was what was that called? The Adventures of Superman, I think. Paul, was that right? Superman Adventures or Adventures of Superman?
I
It
think
was a
so,
different title with Jerry Ordway. I love that cover. I love that run. But I think back to the hero side, this is again.
It's a
This is up
classic
there
cover.
for your top 10 Superman covers. It has to be. I mean, Action 1, Superman 1, Action 13 for me, Action 7, and 14 right here. I mean, it's Siegel and Schuster. I mean, it is what it is. It's Fred Bay. Oh, that's probably why it's cheap. But classic. And the ad here is for Sensation 1, which, by the way, let's put Knights of Old up there. He decided to say, for a guy who didn't appear in the show. He's certainly talking a shit ton.
Drop the mic.
Based on that data, the Sensation 1 is significantly more scarce.
And more important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Good job. And that's just leaving that banner up there for a little bit here. If anyone wants to check out.
Here's a PCH coming up also that doesn't get enough attention, I think.
That's first Ditko.
First published Ditko cover, and it's a really cool vampire cover, and he wrote the story in this too. You don't see it very often. And it just
The worm is whatever.
I had a 6.0 for years, and I sold it for basically what I paid for it, and just never went up in value, and I didn't understand why, but whatever.
That one
Nice.
and the worm cover he did for Thing are both great.
Well, that's thing 5. Was that thing 5?
Thing 15.
15, sorry.
Yeah, that's Jeff's favorite PCH book right there.
Oh, it is?
With the giant worm on top of the city.
Like I don't like that. I don't like Spellbound 3 either. It looks like Beetlejuice every time I look at it. It looks silly, and not just because of it. It's great. But yeah, I like his this House is Haunted magazine is haunted.
Yes.
One probably one of my favorites. Again, I think Ditko did his best work with Charlton and his Strange Tales. I'm not a Ditko Spidey fan.
Thank you. Doctor Strange, drawn by Steve Ditko, is still the best artwork of any superhero book before, since I've ever seen. I've always said this. If you want to enjoy yourself, go read Strange Tales 110 through 138, and you can get the Ditko interior, and you could see that there was a whole new astral projections and everything are just amazing. I know it's not Golden Age, but it's Doctor Strange, and I'm a huge fan. So,
Nuh-uh.
oh, yeah. Still don't have my Frank Bruner, though. Aggravates me. One of the things I wanted to ask you guys, what we talked about here is one thing we didn't bring up, but we should, is what grade do you not like? It's funny, we become snobs. We don't want to say that way, but we become Golden Age snobs. The longer you collect, the more likely you're to push away the 3.5 to save up for the 5.0 or the 5.5. I think we're at the point, most of us in our collecting careers, it's not about having the book. It's about having the book that we think is presentable enough to make us satisfied. Is that, I mean, at least for me, I wouldn't buy a 2.5 of a book if it wasn't, like, it depends on the book, but I don't know what's an example of a Golden Age book that, I mean, I can't say Adventure 34. I'll take any one, to be honest with you. I've never seen one. I've seen one in six years, ever. Do you guys, have you found yourself saying, if you're buying slabs books, I should say, pre-slabs books, have you guys grown saying, maybe, yes, I want that book, but I think I'm going to hold out for a higher grade. I think I've done that much more as of the last.
It's tough to say. I mean, like for most stuff, I think I like to go for Golden Age, at like 4.0 and up is a good spot for me. But like if I see a 3.0 that has great cover appeal, maybe it's got a chip out of the back cover, I'm okay with that. You know, it a lot of it has to do with the cover appeal. I mean, it's slab. That's what you're looking at is the cover.
Right. That's what I'm saying, the slabs.
Yeah,
Jeff?
I mean, for me, I look at things differently than I used to. Below these many years ago, but it's only 4 or 5 years when I really started getting serious. But I look at the census. I want books. I have an investing eye when I buy anything anymore. Now there's exceptions. I make impulse buys that, they're not big purchases, but on the big books, I want something that has rarity either overall or on the census. It doesn't mean I need the highest graded copy, but if there's 75 on the census, I'm not buying a 2.5. If there's 8 on the census, I'll be more likely to go a little lower. But I'm looking at it as an investment, so I want something that's got rarity either overall or on the census. And then I want something that's going to be presentable and in good condition, and I'm really starting to for Golden Age as an average really started to like 5.0s. I'll go below it on occasion, but even like massive books, I would almost, I mean, it'd be good as an investment, but I would almost rather just not buy the 1.8 or the 2.0 and buy something else of a better investment grade, even if it's a lesser book, than get the low grade stuff. I have a Weird Mysteries 5 and a 5.0, which I bought recently.
Great book.
Prior to that, like a year or two ago or something, I bought a Weird Mysteries 4 in a 2.5. Now that's for sale. Not because I don't like the book, but there's, 60 or 70 on the census, and this is at the bottom end, it's a 2.5. So it's not, for me, the best investment grade of that book, even though I love it. So I will move that. The Weird Mysteries 5 is a 5.0. Much better investment grade for the book. So I look at it as, parking money in an investment. Yeah, it's a piece of art and a comic book I like, but I don't want to blow thousands of dollars on books unless I can be maximizing my investment value on them. So I don't know if that makes me snobby or whatever, but that is what it is. That's how I am about it.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's kind of an open-ended question on some stuff, because there's always going to be what's the rarity of the book, and then your opportunities to buy them in other grades, right? So if you see a book you never seen, you get the chance to buy it, blah blah blah. We all get that. If it's something that comes up regularly, and I have my choices, I like to buy stuff with value. I don't want to just pay market. So I'm always going to try to see where that value is. If I'm feeling like I'm paying market, then I can pay market at any time for this book. So for me, it's going to be trying to find that grade, really feel comfortable with the price, and then get into it at least probably, depending on the book, 4.0 plus 5.0, depending on eye appeal. I'll tell you certain books that I have to have at a high grade because I love the cover so much that I will only really truly appreciate it at a nice grade. So like a Catman 20, I love that cover. Good. I've turned that book down a lot. I want it in a certain grade. It has to be a certain grade, and I will pay up for that book because that is one I've been waiting to do it, and I keep passing it, and it keeps going up and up and up. So now I'm just going to buy it when I see it and get into it. But like, again, I want to get to that point where it's a really nice book before it hits that escalation grade point where you're like, okay, now it's at this grade point where now it's an escalator. You're playing like multiples just because you're trying to get towards those top 3 of the grade market. And I don't need that. I could be, a tier down and be happy with it. And if I get a tier down, or I even get something with a pedigree, which I don't usually chase, but it has a little history to it too, then maybe I'll do that to just.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that's why like buyers like you, Jeff, are the reason I want to get whatever book you were just talking about in that grade, because I know there's guys like you that want that book in that grade at least. So that's why I target those, because when ultimately I can sell it for a profit down the road as an investment, I want to have guys like you looking for that book in that grade. It's not that you can't move low grade, but all the stuff will sell if it's a good book. But I don't know. I feel like it's a bell curve as far as appreciation. And Knights is saying, even low grade major keys. I'm not buying major keys. I mean, I don't deal in that. I deal with dark GA, between like $1,000 and $5,000 range books. So the major key thing is out of my collecting range. So I don't deal with that stuff. But it's probably true. I mean, if I came across a Tech 31 in a 0.5 at a good deal, I would jump on it, of course.
Absolutely.
But those are books that are generally way outside my budget anyway.
I just want to touch real quick because we mentioned it earlier too, but like that in between where you're at the bottom of the grade points and you're paying that entry level, and then there's going to be sometimes that sweet spot you'll see with books where it jumps again, but then there's that flat area where you can kind of almost get in that same price, maybe a little bit more, a higher grade, a point and a half. Before it jumps again. And that's kind of a good thing to maybe keep in mind when you're looking. You're like, okay, well, the 2.0 or the 1.8 is like 1,200 and the 4.0 is like 2,500. Okay, so maybe you can get a 3.0 for like 1,600, 1,700. So it just depends, like,
that's
kind of in mind.
That's exactly the case with Chamber of Chills 19 and Black Cat Mystery 50. If you buy a 1.0, I think a 1.0 of Chamber 19 sold on eBay for like $3,000. If you go up to like 5.0, now you're spending $8,000, $7,000. But if you go in that sweet spot like 3.5, you're gonna pay a little more than the 1.0, but proportionally far less. You can probably get a 3.5 for like 45 to 47. And yeah, that is like the sweet spot for books like that. Black Cat Mystery, same thing. I mean, low grade, incomplete 1.0s, 0.5s, 1.5s are selling for, $3,500. You move up to 3.0, now you're looking at like $4,500. So there is like that sweet spot before it escalates, but after the entry level.
One of the things that happens with me often now, a little bit too often, was some of the crime books I collect, because I do have a lot of them. I used to have 2 out of 3 on the census. Now I've got 2 out of 8 on the census. And that's where I've been getting, again, I contacted CGC, I verified, I showed the provenance on who did the work on the interior, who did the work, and I send it to them, and boom, they put it on the label. And the next thing you know is I'm sitting there, I had the 2 highest graded on the census, and now I've got 2 of the middlest graded ones real quick. And I don't know if that's happening because there's so many slab books now. And going back 11 years ago, I'm going to say, you might have seen at a con 30 slab books, 40 slab books total. I'm not kidding. I'm serious when I say I remember going in 2008 to a con and dealers explaining to people why they slabbed the book, and dealers that swore to God they would never do a slab book. Teddy from Superworld flat out said he would never, ever deal in a slab book. And I know he does now. All the time. Reese did it. All right, I'm going to say this. Lee always did slabs. Lee was the guy with the most slabs every time. Bedrock never did slabs. They were like, we're not doing that. Ruins the book. Everybody said they were. This is 12 years ago, 13 years ago. Nowadays, when I used to say, hey, I've got 2 out of the 3 on the census, and I looked recently when I went to go sell one of those, and then somebody said, well, I got one that's graded a 5.0 now. I'm like, damn it. I have a 4.5 and a 4.0. The highest
looks like that. When I cracked comics, that was the second highest graded. Now it's like the 4th highest graded. Perfect Crime 23 is another one where there's not a ton on the census, but there's been a couple high grades out there on it.
People are slabbing everything now. They're slabbing catalogs, for crying out loud.
Well, there's a lot of Golden Age collections still out there to be found. And when these dealers get them, they send them in because the slabbed Golden Age stuff sells top dollar. So it's worth it. So they're sending in, Collectors Comics does submissions of like 400 books at a time. And a lot of it's Golden Age. Reese sends in tons of books. These guys are sending in, they can crash the census numbers with one submission, in certain books. And it's just, if you get a tenuous highest grade of a Golden Age book as it's getting hot and you plan on moving it for profit, do it sooner rather than later, because it's not going the census is going to start filling up and yours is going to be lost in the mix if you only have like a 6.5 or something. Now, if you get a 9.4 of a GA book, there's not going to be a bunch of 9.6s and 9.8s, but if you got like a 6.0, 6.5, and it's like highest graded or second highest graded, you may not want to hold on to it too long if you can make a profit, if that's why you bought it.
Yeah. I buy it by collection. One thing that I wanted to make sure you guys are aware of is a couple of the grading companies, a couple of us, the dealers that have pulp collections, have pitched it to both the 2 bigger grading companies saying, when are you going to start grading pulps? And that is coming. We don't know when. They have discussed it, and we've been wanting them to grade pulps for a while now. And I have been keeping my I sold a bunch of pulps to get a lot of good art, and I kept a bunch of pulps that I like, that I think are the better of the bunch, the older ones, the pre-war and during the war and stuff. There is and I've seen this as the pulp market has, and it is a snail because not many people want them. But I've been dealing with a lot of other people that have been telling me about they're getting into pulps now, and I'm like, be careful, because it's another rabbit hole like the Golden Age. But there is talk, and I'm going to say it now, that we have been pitching both. And I personally have been on the calls with these both, Mr. Borak and Mark at CBCS saying at CGC saying, when are you doing pulps? You did concert posters. When are you doing pulps? Pulps are coming, and if you want to talk about a pure cover-driven market, it's pulps, because you have maybe about 30 to 40 pages in a 70 to 200 page book, 72 pager, 128 pager book to 200 pager book, that there's not much art in there. Art's phenomenal, don't get me wrong. It's really good, and I always show it. But pulps is going to be the next thing, and that's one of those, are we at that level where the slab has now become the norm? And I think in our world, we admit it. We talk in numbers. When 10 years ago, I could tell you now, if somebody came over to you 10 years ago and says, well, I looked at a raw book and said a 5, you'd slap them in the face. What do you mean? How do you know it's a 5? Is it a VG? Is it good? Is it fine? Is it very good? Is it very fine? I mean, it's changed. We used to use, and I'm not kidding you, we used to walk around cons with owl cards in our hands. That's what we used to do. We used to go into everything, and now I love the slab. I love the number. I love the idea. I love the concept of it. But it's coming to where now we can look at a book that says maybe it's a 3.0 or a 3.5. Back then we just said, yeah, it's good to very good. I'm dead serious. You could ask anybody. I talked about it with Rich from Bedrock. He still doesn't like using numbers on his books. You ever see his books, when he has his raw books, he doesn't put a number on the back. Where guys like the younger guys like Red Hood and Reese's Kids all put numbers on the back. We think it's a 7.0. Well, he'll always put fine, very fine. Do you think that that's something that more Golden Age books are getting slabbed for the sake of slabbing now? Where nobody was really slabbing the romance books 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I mean, 3 years ago, romance books were tossed aside. I mean, right now people still toss aside the photo cover books. That's not going to be around. I mean, are we evolving into this environment is the big thing. And where here we are talking about our standards, what's going to change? I mean, we're going to have a lot of fun with this going forward. I really think it's going to be, I think the best time for our market right now, as far as collecting, going out and buying, is now for us, for the Golden Age. I do think it's a high point premium on a lot of the big books, but I think that today's market, and when eventually we ever do get to cons again, we won't be digging through boxes as much. We're going to be.
It's interesting. I was going through some of my old comic book marketplaces that were coming out right when CGC first started, and they had interviews with Borak and all them, and they were like, people were like, some of the big names in the collecting and dealing were saying this is going to be the downfall of comic collecting and yada yada yada. And Steve Borak flat out said, he said nobody's going to get a book slabbed if it's not going to get at least a 9.0.
I remember that.
Well, slabbing, there's two things about slabbing that come to mind all the time. And number one, people need to realize that slabbing became this massive part of the hobby, along with the internet becoming a massive part of the economy and the culture. When 99.99% of all comics now are sold online, auctions, eBay, Instagram, whatever. You can't judge this stuff from pictures, and having it in a CGC slab gives buyers the confidence that it is what it is. So there's that goes. Now, without the internet in the old days, you wouldn't need a slab. You were looking at books in hand. You're buying it from dealers you trust. You're going to a con, you can look at them. With the internet comes slabbing as the most sort of a necessity if you're going to spend money on big books. Some people like raw books, but if they buy a key, they want to buy it in a slab so they know it's not restored and it is what it is. The other thing is the grading. There's so many CGC haters out there. Their grading sucks. I sent this in and this is supposed to be a 9.8 and they came back a 9.2. Yeah, you're not a professional grader, okay? Most people who are in the hobby and putting big money out don't have a problem with CGC's grading. It's not 100%. There's some inconsistencies, but overall, it's good. And it's better than a lot of people out there selling books raw and telling you what the grade is, and you get it and it's way overgraded, or they missed resto, or they didn't check it. I just had to send the book back to a seller because the last 3 pages were all chopped up. Oh, I didn't look at it. Yeah, okay, that's why I should have bought it in a slab. You know what I mean? CGC looks at it. Do they make mistakes? Yes. Are they better than most of the sellers out there selling raw books? Yes. So if you're putting money out for a big book, even people who don't like CGC and are raw collectors, if they're buying an 8.0 Hulk 181, they're buying a slab. They're not buying a raw copy. They want a slab. You know, it's not going away. The grading is fine. It's professional. It's accurate. And it's better than even major dealers. I always have a problem with this. Overgrading is just sort of an accepted part of the hobby these days. It's not. I don't like it. There's some dealers, people know who they are. If they say it's a certain grade, you can just guess it's lower. You know, CGC grades are good, and they're better than most of the sellers selling raws, and it's not going anywhere. So that's my thought on it.
I happen to like
Golden Age
CBCS.
collector.
I've been getting into CBCS a little bit as well. I do like their grading. I mean, I kind of think there's parity, but there is a reason that we have competitiveness in this industry between the slabbing companies. I like it now, and it took me to maybe about a year ago. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I was, Paul, you know this, flat out. I was like, I'm not buying slabs. I go to cons and I shop through raw books. Nowadays, I've been looking more at that back wall at the slabs, being like, you know, that's a guaranteed 8.0, and this is about maybe a 6.
Yep.
And I'm going to pay a premium for that plastic, but, you know, and I do it, and I know it ticks people off, but I do crack my stuff open too. I do crack a lot of slabs open if I just feel like I'm going to keep it, you know. I buy it raw. I mean, I bought it slab, but I'm never going to sell it, or I'm going to keep it for the PC. I might crack it open. I happen to like my books raw in my PC. Not the Silver Age keys and not first appearances and stuff like that, but a lot of the Golden Age books, I decided no longer, about 8 months ago, I said I'm no longer cracking open my slabs. I'm just going to buy the slab and find a raw.
Well, CGC they've also revolutionized grading itself in a good way. I know there's people out, they think the Overstreet grading guide was carried off the mountain by Moses and that's it. Okay, well, times change, requirements change, things evolve, the market changes, collectors change, the type of books that are popular change. Look, there's a need for restored grades. They even characterize the level of restoration and whether it's amateur or professional. There's conservation. That wasn't a thing before. That's a big thing now. There's incomplete, there's qualified grades, there's a lot more to it, and CGC has really revolutionized the grading of books in a good way. I think there's more now. People who don't understand it say CGC is fucking up the hobby because, well, the qualified grade, that's BS. That should just be a 2.5 with the Marvel value stamp missing. No, because there's ratty looking 2.5s, and then there's beautiful looking 2.5s, and if you just say 2.5 because the stamp's missing, well, that doesn't give you an idea of how good the book is. There's a need for this stuff, and there's these guys who think the Overstreet grading guide is like the Bible and you should never deviate from it. If you do, it's a sin. And CGC has done a lot for the hobby. Now, do they have problems? Yes. Have they screwed up my books and damaged them in their little CCS operation? Yes. They're not perfect, but they are a benefit. I feel like the hobby with them is 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So that's, I'm fine with them.
Yeah, let me also jump in here on this because so much to talk about on that. Like, I think the grading has been good for the hobby to solidify it as a traded commodity, period. Has it made us have to pay more for comics because it's become more of a demand product and easier to track values with and all that? Yes. Overall, we also benefited from that and getting value from our books. Absolutely. Is it here to stay? Yes. All right. CBCS is around too. I love competition in the marketplace. I think that's super important. I love seeing that. So I'm really excited for them, especially when they upgrade their holders. I cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Yeah.
That'll be a game changer for them. Okay.
Yes.
So that's awesome. I'm happy with, a grading company. And yeah, it's graded by people. There's going to be errors and mistakes. Okay. Welcome to every hobby. You can talk trash all you want about it. It's just what it is. They grade a lot of books, and you in your basement are not a better grader than the graders at CGC.
Right. I have said this 100 times.
Yeah, let me little tears and little inside things in chips. They take off what they take off, and you don't know what that is because you're not there and you don't know their standards. You might think a 1/4-inch chip on the back cover puts it in this area, when really it puts off more. A dust shadow, severity of that, sun shadows, rusted staple, how much does it saturate into the book? All these factors. There's thousands of things that could be on every book, and they've seen them all in hundreds and hundreds of manners, so you know exactly how to grade. You're educating yourself and all that, and time may get to that level, but it's going to take you years and years and years to even get close to what they see in a week. All right. So, I get it. They're not faultless. We all understand that. And I'm not, and that goes for all grading companies. So, except for PGX, they're in my doghouse. But, as it goes for grading books, I think if you to grade something, I don't see why you would grade all Golden Age books. I would think you would grade things that have value to them. Otherwise, you're spending more for grading for no freaking reason other than to take up more space in your store box. And I still think raw books are great. I love raw books. Most of my collection is raw. Maybe I'll crack it out for some crazy reason and when you crack it out, guys, you just put the label back with the book so you know what the grade is. People do that. And
when they add, people are like, the books people are paying so much money for CGC books, ruining the hobby. The prices are going up. Look, the hobby includes that one complainer, all the buyers, all the sellers, all the dealers, all the grading companies, the cons. There's so much more money coming into the market in the last 15 years than ever before. That is good for the hobby. It is good for the market. When you have that much money, the total hobby is worth, thousands of multiples of what the whole hobby was worth before. Now, the purists and those other people like to complain because they don't like change and they want to have their stuff be, you get priced out of stuff. That's part of a healthy market. When the market is strong, prices go up. There's a lot more demand, a lot more people in it. There's also a lot more supply. Prices go up, you're going to get priced out, but that's just part of being in a healthy market. If everything just crashed and burned and all the books were $1, all this money would leave the hobby, and some people will be glad they could go pick up their books for $1. There wouldn't be any cons that would be cool to go to anymore. There wouldn't be any auctions online to buy your stuff on. eBay would be just like it was in 2000, where it was just crap and you couldn't trust anything. So, a healthy market there's a lot of money coming into the hobby, and that's a good thing. You might get priced out on a book here or there, but there's so many more books for you to get, and it's just overall better for the hobby.
I feel people feel like they're a grade or they're owed a book. It's your right to own this book, or it's your right to have this grade that you think you deserve. I'm sorry, that's just not what reality is. I cannot buy many books. Okay, I don't feel bitter about it. Yeah, it sucks. Hey, it makes me hunt harder to find something. I hunt harder, I hunt better, I get wiser, and I find something else that I want, or I get lucky and I find it in the wild because I'm putting myself out there.
Plus, you can flip books for a lot profit now to make money and buy books that you couldn't afford with your day job because the market's so strong. I buy books almost every single day to flip, and they're easy to sell because the market's strong and I can make profits that I can then put towards my own stuff. So you got to be creative with it. If you just sit around and think you're owed books, like you're saying, Jeff, look, I'm owed a Porsche. I don't have a Porsche. I'll have to work my ass off to afford it. Maybe I can buy a Porsche, but it doesn't do any good for the car market if it crashes and Porsches are $1. I mean, what good is that? Buying a Porsche is not worth anything.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you guys are saying. I'm someone who started to slab my books more and more and I enjoyed doing it. Let's be honest. When you find out when your thing says graded, finalized, and you're about to, if you're going to sneak peek or you're going to open those up like Paul did with his little pulling the tape off live and getting surprised out there and everything, that's part of it. And there is going to be disappointment, but don't think of it as you're buying a scratch off. You've got value in that book, whether it was an 8.0 or a 9.2. You know, if you thought you were getting a 9.2, you get an 8.0. Okay, it happens. But you want to know what? I would trust that grader grading that 8.0 was better at it than I was under my lamp, light, and everything I looked at, because it's not just one grader at these places. It's a minimum of 3 on most cases, right, Jeff? I mean, it's a minimum of 3 that kind of look at your book.
2 to 3. I don't know what they're like on location. I have no idea. But yes, at least a couple people are having on. It's supposed to be 3, right? From what I understand.
It's supposed to be 2 graders, and then a supervisor grader reviews their grades and decides if it's legit.
And I absolutely love the fact that this has happened to the industry, because while I didn't get it with baseball cards because I was not into baseball cards, I was huge into sports, but not into those baseball cards that people were putting like in the plastic cases. That made more sense because there's nothing to read. But when the comics started, I was reluctant, and my own naivety or my own ignorance was thinking, why are you doing that to a book if you can't read it? Again, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I should say this, when eBay was coming around and I was buying these books, buying books off of eBay, I thought it was the greatest thing. But I could tell you, I was getting books that were in really not good shape that I thought were much better than they were. I mean, there was no scanning into this stuff. Now it's, if I feel comfortable, if I'm upgrading a book, you're damn well sure I'm guaranteeing I'm upgrading with a slabbed book.
Because comic books are meant to be read. If I spend $5,000 on a comic book, it is not meant to be read. It is meant to be preserved and protected and guarded so that it maintains its value as an asset. It's not something to flip through while you're drinking coffee in the morning. You know what I mean? There are books to read. There are trade paperbacks. There are collected editions. There are reader copies. But if you're putting out money for a big book, is not to read. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it.
I got into this with somebody about FF 48, 49, and 50. He's like, oh, you're supposed to read it. And I'm going to tell you who it was. It was Don Rosa.
Yeah, you can read it online.
I said, Don, there are about 50. I can count 10 right now of different variations of 48, 49, 50 that have been reprinted in Marvel Triple Action, Marvel Tales, everywhere. There's thousands of them. He goes, it's not the same thing. And he is so against it that he has turned off so many of the dealers from dealing with him. And I understand it, but he's really a good buyer. He really is a good buyer. He pays a premium too, but he won't buy them if it's in the plastic case.
I will crack out any book for somebody. I've told him that. It's like, you don't like it, I will crack it out for you. All right, but here's the book. No problem. Give me 3 minutes. I'll get this out of the holder for you.
Yep.
Oh, then they're like, no. It's like, okay, that's what I thought. Right? You're not really gonna buy it. Okay, so
every one of these books you can find online, digital, trade paperback, omnibuses. I've got a few omnibuses that I collect. I mean, I went through this where I was against it to where I'm now a big advocate for it, whether it be CBCS or CGC. I really don't. I have a preference currently with CGC because it's just a quicker turnaround time. That's the only reason why. I do like the grading of CBCS. I do think they're accurate. I do think they're both accurate. I think I'm less accurate than they are, but I'm not going to, while I could complain about a book getting I should have got a 6.5 and I ended up getting a 5.5. You're not going to know the difference. But I've been surprised more than everything else. And that's one of the best things when you're like, I read this book 5 times and I got a 9.8 out of it. That's crazy.
Plus there's, CGC unboxings are an event that are second only to Christmas morning when you're a kid. And that didn't exist 20 years ago. You know what I mean? And CGC unboxings are an event and a phenomenon that is just one of the most fun things in the hobby. Everybody, it's like Christmas morning when you're a kid. If you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? And it's like
my UPS guy even gets excited when I do this. You know, he's into comics too. He's like, "Man, what'd you get?" And he brings it over to my
point where even if you see the corner of a box where somebody's like, "This arrived today," you're like, "Oh, CGC box." You can tell it's a CGC unboxing. What did you get? What are the grades? Like, it's cool. And CBCS, I'll use them when their holder doesn't suck, basically, because the grading.
I really am excited for their new holders. I think we all.
I hope it's good. I'm not waiting on them anymore, though. I got a stack of books I need to send in. If they don't have a new holder by then, I'm sending CGC. I'm not wasting my time.
I mean, they are so good at this. We're gonna wrap up here in a minute here, but I just want to, you know, I love the fact that one thing CBCS does that I wish CGC did is give away the graders notes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm tired of paying $5. Again, I do pay the $5 if the book is $1,000 book or more, and I'm questioning whether or not I'm going to buy it. I'm absolutely not going to. I'll spend the 0.5% just to find out what's really wrong with the book, or what's right with it, or in any which way. But I love CBCS's free graders notes, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, CGC, it's a business. They've decided to charge for it, so that's their decision. I'm not happy about it.
I'm not knocking it.
I mean, owed the graders notes from CGC if I didn't submit the book, so I get it. And there's big books I've looked at before that an old holder, I think it could be pressed and cleaned. I'll pay $5 or $10, whatever it is, to get the notes to see. And then as part of the expense of the hobby, sometimes I buy the notes to see if that book in that slab can be fixed up by a point or point and a half or whatever. Because it looks like it can, but then you read the notes and it says staining full interior front cover or something you can't see or whatever. But
yeah, they used to be free. The notes used to be able to call you and send them to you, and then it became a charging thing. Which I agree with you. I wish that wasn't the case. I think
they used to email them to you. You couldn't get them right away on the screen. They would email them to you,
or read them
like
to
a couple hours. Yeah, or mail them to you. Yeah,
but I'll tell you, if CBCS's holder is legit and they start picking up more of the market share and it becomes more 50-50, people are going to have a rude awakening when they're sending in detached cover VG copies to CBCS and getting 2 5s. The grading is different. There's some things like, you know, CBCS doesn't have a qualified label. They grade detached covers differently. I mean, there's going to be a rude awakening for a lot of people that are going to crack out CGC books or send it to CBCS expecting their 4.0 or their 6.0, and it comes back low. You know, there's major differences between the two, and I think there's going to be a rude awakening. You're going to hear it on Instagram and in social media.
It'll be fun.
People complaining about that kind of stuff. There's going to be some growing pains, I'm telling you.
It's already complaining. Just add it to the pile of complaining.
Yeah.
Just quickly,
bigger.
Say how grading evolves. I just want you to know at San Diego Comic-Con, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but CGC hands out a pile of books and with it a paper, and they ask every dealer, just about every dealer who they want to grade the books, to grade them and put the grade of that book, and then everyone submits them, and then they give you the results of your grading and your comparisons so that everybody can kind of start getting on the same page and fine-tuning to what grading should be. And they do that every single year at San Diego, like relentless, so that everybody can get on the same page, or maybe if they feel that they have to evolve some of their grading too to just fall in line with what the census is. But I think it's more to just get everybody on the same page of how to grade a book. So it's just a really fun thing to just see where do you fall. And I promise you, a lot of dealers don't fall well into it. And some undergrade, some overgrade. All right. And some people can be spot on. Some people are great one year. Some people are not great the next year. So it's just interesting to just get that. And so you understand, there is effort to try to get people on the same page, which I find that to be really fascinating. Because I didn't.
They would do more though. Like they have these seminars at cons where they have a schedule of talks and seminars and meetings and whatever. I wish CGC would hold one where they have an open forum where they take question and answer. Just like a discussion panel, that would really help, especially from a PR standpoint. Have a grading panel where they go over some grading issues and have up on the screen the book, and they have a grader talk about what the defects are. Yeah, get people on the same page instead of just their PR is horrible at CGC. I mean, they have Matt flipping through a Soup One, they put that on social media like that's going to be cool. Freaking train wreck, man. I mean, that's not how you run PR for that company. They needed to get people more engaged and on the same page so they stop complaining, or so they have a better understanding of what's going on. Exactly what you're saying, Jeff. And CBCS I feel like has great PR, but their holder sucks. So it's like,
yeah,
I didn't know that. What's their PR for CBCS?
They don't have any. Their PR is just random shit. Like
you said CBCS is
PR? Dude, flipping through a Soup One.
Well, what was CBCS's PR? I'm curious because I don't get to see it much. Is it just on
Steve Borak has appeared on numerous YouTube community channels.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I've sent him messages on Instagram. And he's responded to me, and I'm just some dude. He doesn't know me, and
awesome.
he'll go on a YouTube channel. Like if Comic Core, or even if I hit him up and be like, hey, do you want to do a discussion? Can I interview you? He's open for it. He's available to talk. He's open. He's honest, and if you have questions, he'll answer them, and he's there for you. CGC, they're like very standoffish a lot, and they don't interact well with the public and the customers, whereas CBCS does, especially Steve Borak. I mean, he's been on several YouTube channels in the last few months.
You can't not love Steve. I don't know anyone who does not like Steve.
Steve is a classic. One of my favorite people in the community is Steve Borak, and one of my trusted people that I can always trust that he's going to say is there's no hidden agenda with him. He knows his company what it is. He knows what he's doing, and he just tells you like it is. CGC does pretty well, and I actually like that flipping through the Action One. I just wish there was more of detail of because I do like the Robert Overstreet guide, the grading guide, but it changed when they added the numbers. It wasn't always about the numbers. The numbers that we're talking about, the scale of 1 to 10, and then breaking it down to halves and 0.8. That's more recent. It used to just be, this is good, this is very good. I actually don't use their number guide. Is not what I use at all. I use their description, where a quarter piece out of it is very good, no higher than that one, or VG plus, based on everything else in there. I think everything that the Overstreet guide in the grading guide goes through. I just don't pay attention to the number they think it should be. I just don't like that number, because I trust the grading companies have their own numbers.
Characteristics have changed in the hobby, whereas restoration used to not be a big deal. Now it's a massive deal. Detached covers used to before were horrible, and it would trash the grade of a book. Collectors don't feel it as bad as it was before. So the hobby evolves, and the grading should evolve to meet the needs of the people in the hobby, to meet the requirements, to meet the specificity. And the Overstreet guide is just the Overstreet guide, and it's really good to learn about grading books and condition issues. But it's not what's in use anymore. These guys that want to the Overstreet is the Bible and it should never change. The hobby has changed so much. The Overstreet grading guide is good, informational, but that's not how they grade books anymore. I agree with you.
It kind of tells you how to. It's an amateur. It's a book an amateur can read to understand defects, how it affects a book going from good to very good, but not the numbers. Everybody has their own number game, and I do love the fact that we are having competition, and that is by far the best thing to happen. Is CBCS is getting those slabs down. And because these CGC slabs, the new ones, again, I've got every generation of slab there is. This generation 1 is what CBCS is pretty much doing right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there's a new black sheep grade out there. I've noticed.
Whoever puts the UV protection on them first wins.
Yeah, there's one black sheep grade. There's one thing I don't understand about grading. This one grade always is weird to me. It's always off somehow, and people don't like it. It's like the black sheep grade, and it's one grade out there of CGC grade. 5.5. Nobody wants to buy a 5.5. I don't know how they grade 5.5s. It's like 5.5s are such a weird grade for buyers, sellers, and grading books. It's for me. It's 5.5s are so strange, man.
It's a kick in the nuts, is what it is. You wanted them 6s or 5s.
Look at CPA for any book.
Hagar approach to things.
Go look
Can't get
at GPA on the book. Look at the 5.0, look at the 5.5, and look at the 6.0. Of those 3 grades, the lowest selling one is the 5.5.
My
Tell-
Journey 85 is a 5.5. I'm looking at 4 5.5s. I'm stuck with Sammy Hagar all over here.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't
Look up GPA though. You'll see the 5.0 sell for more than that. The 6.0 sells for more than that. The 5.5 is like in no man's land.
This is a 5.55, and this is a 5.550. Avengers 5 and
Yeah, it looks. I have some 5.5.
yeah, I love it. Well, everybody, before we go, we're gonna say one more thing. We're gonna say Oh, anybody have anything you want to plug, real quick?
Yeah, sure. I got a on Instagram 3 o'clock.
Oh yeah, I want to hear about this.
I have a claim sale going on IG at Golden Age Guru. It's going to be along with Elite Comics 11, Elite_Comics 11, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time Saturday, guys.
Very cool. We'll have to keep an eye out on that one. Paul. Okay.
No, I ain't got nothing coming up.
DS, got anything?
I mean, I got a submission here that's almost ready to go of bronze and silver keys. I got my Terrific 5 coming back from CGC.
Ooh. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my Terrific 5 that Kenny worked on. I didn't get a grade bump, and I'll tell you this: it had a bad spine roll, which he fixed, and he was able to tuck. Once he fixed the spine roll, the paper was overhanging the staple, so he was able to put that back in. CGC
Good.
then popped it off again. So
Anyway,
that's coming back. It looks a million times better. It's one of my favorite books. So
Right.
excited to get that. Blue Bolt should be here whenever. I already paid for it. We'll see how long that takes.
I'll shout out. I'll be on doing this stuff again, and I'll be also on June 9th. I'll be on Comic Book NYC's original art show. Something you're not going to want to miss because they never really show all my original art, but I plan on showing a ton of it. Should be fun. Thanks everybody for joining us, and don't forget we got this ending. So here's the theme song.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again.